Good day, Internet. It's Friday. I just finished seam sealing everything on the bottom side of the car. So we're going to let that dry overnight, and then tomorrow we're going to paint the bottom under here. And before we do that, we're gonna create this piece that goes on the end here, which should not be too bad in comparison to all this. And once we get this all painted, so there you go, it's a pretty decent view of all of our seam sealing action. So that's kind of where we're at this point, and this was kind of funny. It made me chuckle. So I'm just kind of having fun picking away at things. I want to get to the bottom of why there's water coming in under here. There's a lot of rust, like here. I should get my light out so you can see it. I will do that. So it's sad, and I'm wondering. I want to figure out why it's so sad, so that it can be not more sad in the future. And this is a possibility. It could be getting in through there. Over here it's not rusting, over here it's not rusting. Yeah, I broke these clips taking this trim piece off, but I'm happy that I managed to get it off at all, because I was putting it off for a while. There's a bit of rust developing here, but nothing that's through, so not too big of a deal. And right here is kind of rusty, so I wonder if, like, I'm definitely going to clean that out as much as I possibly can and seam seal it, because there was factory seam sealer there, so that could be where it's going in. But this would be like a hole directly into there. And also, there's this hole first, like these are our screw holes. So, I don't know, I'm just gonna hit every area that I think might be a problem, and we're gonna monitor it. Whenever I start driving this around, for the first little while, I'm probably going to do it with no carpet, so I can see, like, where water is coming in on rainy days, and potentially fix the problem, because there's a reason that all of this was rusted out, and it wasn't just the driver's feet. There's definitely leaking going on. So anyway, I'm rambling big time. So I took the wipers off, because this is also, there's a rust ring around this. So, could be water getting in through this. So we're going to do something about that. And we're going to do something about this. So, I basically just figured out how to get the wipers off. Wasn't that difficult. And, I was wondering, I wonder if my wiper works. Oh. Yeah, I don't think that wiper's going to work. Or that wiper. Sprayer nozzle thing. It's kind of funny. And, look, we got, like, a whole forest in here. So I'm wondering if I can, like... Ooh, I want to see if I can, like, look in there and gain any insight as to what's going on with the water ingress. Saturday now, and as promised, we're working on this end cap piece. And, I'm going to do a combination of rivets and seam sealer, similar to what we did for the kick plate thing up there. Just because this is thin metal, and... I really wanted to be able to shape this kind of by hand and iterate with the tin snips. And this is also stainless steel, so it's not going to rust. So we've got dried rust converter all the way in there, and this material. You're going to see some of it there. And I've cleaned this with brake clean and shop towels, and same thing with this, which is why I'm carefully holding it on the sides. So we're going to get the seam sealer out, and we're going to put this in there. Good day, Internet. Welcome back to another episode of the RX7 restoration. So, I'm just going to start rhyming off some interesting things that have been going on with the RX7 build. I got myself a die grinder. Told myself I was going to stop spending so much money on tools, but this is going to be so incredibly useful for the work that's coming up on this thing. This thing sounds exactly like an RC Plane brushless motor. And it has 3 modes. That's the lowest one. Here's 2. Sending her pretty good. And then 3 is basically just for like very fast cutting wheel stuff. As you can tell, I have not used this whatsoever. I just got it out of the package and threw one of my batteries in it. So that's pretty exciting. Going to be really useful for just a lot of rust. A lot of cleaning rust and paint. And I can also use this to trim metal in like crampy little areas. I have a pneumatic die grinder, but it's not nearly as cool as this. And this will be able to run for a while. And it has a light on it. That's going to be super useful. Very exciting. So, while the pneumatic one is nice, the pneumatic one is actually a little bit smaller form factor. It's not as long, but it has the air hose coming off of it, so that makes it less great. And also, I only have a 6-gallon air compressor, and I only get like 20 seconds of die grinding action before it starts to basically not work anymore. So this, I'll just be able to throw more batteries in it, and it uses the batteries that I have worked up a collection of. So far, all of my tools are M12. I don't have any other tools that use batteries apart from the M12 line, and I am thrilled with it. So that's a cool thing. Also, I do not have wheels for the car yet, but that did not stop me from ordering wheel spacer adapters. So my RX7 is 4x110 bolt pattern. And that basically does not exist in terms of aftermarket wheel support. Don't ask me why it's 4x110. Like, almost no cars use that bolt pattern, except for the RX7 and like the RX4 and the RX3 maybe, and like some other weird old cars. But if you want to put cool wheels on it, you either need to machine the parts on the car. So that would be the front rotors and the rear axle shafts. So I'd have to figure out how to take those out, take them to a machine shop, and then get them drilled out. Or you can do this. So this is kind of the poor man's lazier way to do it, but honestly, I don't care. This is going to work out just great. These were about 260 bucks to my door, I think. And the reason that they look so funky is because these ones, what was the website that I ordered these from? It was like billetwheeladapters.com or something like that. These will do, well, it says it right on it. It'll do 4x100 or 4x110 to 4x100. So all the wheel adapters online, especially the ones on eBay, kind of all look the same. And they were even more expensive than these ones, which were made by, you know, it seemed to be an actual decent company that tries to do a good job, and, you know, it's not just eBay crap. So these are the 4x100 holes, so I probably won't be using these, but I thought, why not get something that's more useful than less useful? It'll also be a little bit lighter for whatever the heck that's worth. So yeah, these ones are 4x110. So these will bolt onto the car, and then the studs that come out are 4x100. So I can now buy 4x100 wheels, considering the fact that these are 1 inch deep. And there's actually quite a bit of reading material online, and people that have submitted pictures and details on their cars, that I have done the research, and I pretty much know the wheel spec that I want using these spacers. With a plus 25 offset, a 15x8 is what I'm going to run, and I've seen other people run that exact setup with a 1 inch spacer, and it looks perfect. So I'm basically just gonna copy that. And the wheel, I'm not decided on wheels yet, but I'm looking at a particular wheel. I'm not gonna ruin any surprises, but I do have some wheels in mind. And I have not done anything with these yet. Just got them in the mail yesterday. One thing that's a little interesting is that this would be a lot easier to explain if I had one with me. The studs that hold the wheels on the car, the stock ones. So typically you'd use those to, you know, hold the adapter to the car. Well, the lug nuts lug like bolts basically that come with the RX7, they stick up about that high, which is not going to work, obviously. So I think since they're all rusty and they don't exactly look nice, and they're going to be hidden underneath this anyway, I have no problem cutting the top off of them. So I might cut off that, like however much they stick up plus like a millimeter, and do that to all 16 of them. It's going to take a while with the reciprocating saw, but shouldn't be too bad. And then we'll be able to mount these on flush and mount our future wheels, which we have not ordered or even decided on yet. But that's a thing. Also, I ordered a cavity wand kit for undercoating. So what I really wanted this for was the 360-degree nozzles that these have. They look kind of interesting. They're kind of like an S pattern, and do they have a hole on the very end? No, they don't. So the idea is you hook this onto your can of undercoating, and you stick it in whatever area you want to, impregnate with undercoating. You stick it in there, and then you go, you pull it back while you do it. For things like your rocker areas and any area that's difficult to get to with a can. So this is why undercoating places will like drill holes in your car and put plugs in afterwards, is because they're going in with something like this. So now your boy is going to be able to do the same thing. Pretty neat. I'm going to have to do a little bit of work because this is made for a particular 3M like style of wax stuff. And these don't exactly fit on top of the typical undercoating cans that I like to get. So I might need to, but I mean, that's removable. I'll be able to engineer something. But we're not quite there yet. We'll do that at the end when we're all done of everything. Alright. Let's go out to the car and talk about more things. So, since we have last spoken, oh, yeah, the seat's actually bolted in there. Yeah, no big deal or anything. I still have yet to paint my brackets, but they are bolted in there as promised. So the rear ones, my brackets are bolted on, if you remember me talking about it an episode or two ago. And I still need to like clean up the rust on this bracket. So that's actually the RX8 bracket being rusty. Not perfect either. The other one on the other side is not rusty. Not that that matters, it's got plenty of life left in it. So getting this bolted in here was honestly more difficult than I thought it would be, because it was a Saturday and I was kind of rushing and I made a couple mistakes, and I made a couple more holes in the rail. You definitely can't see it from right now, but just trust me, I made some extra holes that I didn't mean to, and I also made some holes that weren't perfectly centered. So if I actually pull this forward, you can see this one is perfectly centered, so the other rail, when it goes in here, it just glides on top of it. It doesn't touch at all. But this one, I made it like, because I was just drilling it by hand, I made it like a millimeter or two over that way. You can see it's not quite centered. So I had to take it out and then grind it flat. And yeah, this hole I made just because I am a total dingus, and I didn't give myself proper instructions for whenever I went inside the house and actually started drilling it. I referenced the wrong hole. So anyway, went from thinking that was the location, this was the actual location that I was supposed to drill out. So anyway, 2 in there, 2 in here, didn't make the same mistake over here. There we are. Not very complex. It's a bent piece of metal. So, oh man, I messed up my seating position in this car that I've never driven. So, at least for me, I am 5'11", I think, and I'm not going to have it all the way back. If you are really tall, then the seat might not go back far enough for you, but it's definitely going to work for me, and this car is built for me, so that's fine. Another thing, this seat belt. So, it's not going to be that difficult using the seat belt with this seat. I still have to undo like a zip tie or two, because this is the RX8 one. But we're going to be using the RX7 one, which is not bolted to the seat, but is actually bolted to the frame. I wonder if I could, because this has a bolt hole for it right there. I wonder if I could make this a little bit better, because this kind of runs into the side of the fabric, and I know it's going to damage it over time, because whenever you're sitting, this is like squished in. So let me actually demonstrate. Very exciting. Oh, it's so comfy. I'm going to try not to mess up my paint too much, because it's still... Oh, yeah. I don't want to mess up the paint with my feet right on it. So, oh, this is so comfortable. So, if I grab the seat belt... It's still really dirty. I need to clean it. I'm going to probably remove the module and take it outside and soap it up and hit it with the pressure washer a whole bunch. But anyway, the way it sits isn't bad, but it does kind of like run into the seat. So I wonder if I could, if I moved it to be here, it would just move this kind of over more. I don't know, it's probably fine. I'm probably overthinking it. I might put some sort of thing there to, I don't know, probably doesn't matter at all. Anyway, it feels great to be sitting in this car. With the steering wheel's not bolted in, but I just put it here because I wanted the experience, you know? So right now, this is definitely too far back. I can clutch in all the way, but it's not comfortable. So I'm gonna adjust it for where I want me. Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, this is gonna be great. Super exciting to actually have a seat in here. Over here on the passenger side, what's really odd is that because of the transmission bulge, the front, this is a stud that comes out basically vertically. Instead of it like bolting on like this side did, just one side is way the heck over here, so that's going to be a little bit of interesting fabrication, but the passenger seat is very low priority in terms of things on this car. I could even put in the stock seat, but it kind of smells like rat shit, so I don't exactly feel like doing that. Do you really need both seats to pass inspection? Put it down in the doobly-doo if you know. So we still have, so for rust items remaining on the car, that which I already have a template of. This back here, I haven't quite decided what I want to do with it, but probably something with fiberglass Bondo. And over here there is the frame rail is pretty bad, so we're gonna have to do some frame, some of this. We're gonna have to do a little bit of that, you know. And it's not nearly as much of an operation as over here, but this is the final stretch. Absolutely the final stretch until we can drive this thing. So let me unbelt myself. And let's talk about what I did yesterday now. I decided, just because I was picking away at things and I ended up getting these off, that I was going to remove all... This is kind of a side quest, but it ended up being for a good purpose. I took all of the trim pieces off around the windshield, and that let me get a much better view of, okay, this used to be really rusty until I painted it. It's looking pretty damn good, man. Up here, it's a little bit bumpier, and that's going to be okay because I intentionally stopped carrying up here because there's a trim piece that goes right over it, so you're only going to see like that. There was also a big old rust ring around here, and I've painted that. If I look at it just right, you can see that something's up, but barely. Barely. Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's good enough for the girls we go out with. Wow. So for painting this, I started off using Duplicolor, and Duplicolor does not actually make the correct color for this car. That's clear coat. Where's my Duplicolor? This stuff. This is not actually the exact right paint code for this. This is something that I found at Canadian Tire that I thought was really goddamn close. And it is really goddamn close. But whenever you try and blend paint together, and it's not like exactly the same thing, it just makes your life miserable because you're trying to do something that's just inherently not going to work that well. So I started painting this, and I was just getting frustrated with how not great it was turning out. And I actually sanded most of what I did off. So what I painted was this area and this area. And I ended up getting the duplicolor stuff like kind of all over here. And I spent the time to sand it off with the 2000 and 3000 grit and get back down to the factory clear coat without busting through it because I was so upset with how it went. Now, I didn't go through all of it because I was going to paint on top of it, but again, keep your repair area small. Keep as much of the stock as you can is my motto, or one of my goals, and when I'm doing finish repair, whatever you call this, painting, bodywork. So after I got all annoyed and sanded it off and was kind of just bummed out in general about the project after that, because I was like, man, am I not actually going to be able to like do this paint stuff myself? Am I going to have to take it somewhere and spend like $3 grand on getting it painted? And then I remembered that there is a spot on PEI, like actually just down the road, the same road that I'm on, St. Peter's, and they Eastern Auto, and they make spray paint. They will mix it there for you. I know that's not that uncommon of a thing for places to do, but it kind of blew my mind. So I went in there, and sure enough, they were able to whip up some cans for me. So there we go. This is the right stuff. Mazda K8 Tornado Silver Metallic. Look at all this. This is really cool. Black, Effect A, 14.9 grams. Some sort of base, 190 grams. 1.9 grams of magenta in my silver. Like, red shade. So I noticed that it was a little bit more like bronzy, not just because it's covered in dirt, than the duplicolor stuff. So this kind of, it makes sense now that I read the ingredient list. Like, this is cool. So this stuff comes out of the can really nice. Like, this is some premium paint as far as spray paint goes. If you're actually into auto body, please don't put it in the comments. I know this is not premium paint, but it works. It works for me, okay? So as soon as I started using this stuff, my jaw dropped because it is exactly the friggin' same. Yeah, if I really look like that, you can see the clear coat. You can see the level's not perfect, but you know, it's fine. So this area and kind of like this area is that new paint. And can you tell? No. No. And I also got clear coat from that same store, and I just took what they recommend for clear coat. Got this stuff. Seems to be better than the duplicolor clear coat, but that could be not true. It could be basically the same stuff. But it laid down really smooth. So this is clear coated. This is clear coated, and after it dried fully, I hit the top of it with some 3000, which I read that somewhere, that if you cut it right after it finishes drying, then it can breathe easier. Don't quote me on that whatsoever. I could be a total idiot. But there were some like dust nibs and stuff that got in it because this is not a proper paint booth, and it's looking pretty damn amazing. So as soon as I hit this with the buffer, I think it's going to look incredible. But that is like final stages. I'm not going to start buffing things just yet. I'm going to wait until everything's like ready to be buffed. So in addition to that, this I painted with the duplicolor cans. I painted this entire thing, and this is original, and this is that color. And if you paint an entire other panel, now I know it doesn't have, this isn't a great opportunity or a great example. I think it looks fine. I don't think I'm gonna repaint that. It's just if you're trying to blend using something that's a little bit off, it's terrible. But I think that's totally passable. We'll see what I think whenever we put the hood down. And yeah, the hood needs some love as well, but that's later. That's later. But the reason that I did this now is because I wanted to inspect the rust, the rust around here and the water ingress. So remember episode 1 of the series? You probably don't. But episode 1 of the series, I was talking about a seam that is in here that you can't see right now that is really rusty and is clearly like an area where water's getting to regularly whenever it rains. And I was concerned about that because there's clearly water that like comes down on the side over here. Water drips down here, and water also kind of comes from around here, and it drips down, and that's why the floor pan was destroyed. So I want the floor pan to live a happy life in the future because I put so much work into it. I want to stop the water from getting in there. So seam sealer in there that's kind of been painted over. This was rusty and letting water into wherever that goes. Water was likely getting in here, thus the rust. But I think water's supposed to get in here, because like water would run down the windshield and go straight into here, I think by design. But regardless, there is a seam that you can't really see, but it's way in there. Actually, yes you can. I know it's dark, I'm sorry, but you can see it enough. You can see all the seam sealer that I put in there. I blasted a lot of the rust off with the wire wheel in there as much as I could, even though it's like super awkward. I had my arm like in here, cleaning it out. I was trying to look through this hole to see what I was doing, and I cleaned that out, hit it with rust converter, hit it with seam sealer, like a lot of seam sealer. I just went in there with my hand and went, and hopefully that will stop some water from getting in here. But obviously we're going to monitor it as soon as we get the car outside and under some water, be that getting washed or sitting outside in the rain, which this car probably won't be doing for that much of its life. I'm pretty much going to store it anytime that I'm not using it, because I love it. But still, it can't never be in the rain, and I don't want water getting on my floor, damn it. So that is my excuse for taking these trim pieces off and painting this now, is because I have it apart. The crux of progress is, well, I'm already here. I'm already this far. I might as well, while I have this apart, do this other thing. Oh, and then that means I have to do this other thing. And then you're so far away from the original goal that you're just twiddling your thumbs. But it's going to all come back together. We're going deep, deep, deep down into the rabbit hole. Then we're going to come back up, brapping in a rotary. So, there's a couple other spots that were rusty that I just have primed right now. There, and there, and there. And this is already painted. Don't look at it too close, it's fine. There's going to be a piece of trim like right up against it. I just didn't want it to continue rusting. You can see where I didn't care about painting it anymore because you don't see that. I just wanted to cover the rust up. Also right here, that seam sealer and rust converter underneath that, and then primer. Because this was also probably, so if water was getting in here, it would go directly like through this pillar into where I see being super hella rusty up there. So that would make sense. I've probably shaken off just about every single one of my viewers at this point by just rambling about nonsense. But that's what's going on with the RX7. We're currently working on some paint. And whenever we come back in from this side quest, oh, by the way, I painted these. These are chilling in my bathroom right now. These trim pieces, if you remember from the previous episodes, was very, it was basically just down to the stainless steel again. They're stainless steel trim pieces that are painted matte black. So I took them inside, I cleaned them pretty well. I did not strip the paint, and I just hit them again with flat black. And I think they're going to look just fine. Since there was such a thin layer of paint left anyway, I don't think it's going to matter. But we'll see whenever I get it out in the sun. What else can I say? So, yeah. I think that is just about it for this episode. We didn't even do any work this episode. I think that's the first time I've just done a whole bunch of talking. Yeah, the first episode was like that, I guess. But, yeah. We're hard at paint, which is a long and lengthy process, especially when you're an idiot like me and you make mistakes and then you have to sand those mistakes away, and yeah, But if you've made it this far, thanks for the interest in the project, and we'll meet you next time.